So I'm setting up my brake upgrade and thought I'd show you what I got going on with that. So this is a stock brake, single piston, cast housing. It works, but like I said, I'm going to be hauling a little bit more stuff. Got a bigger motor. Might as well fix it while I'm here. Plus the brakes are kind of shot anyways. They needed new pads, new rotors, and for about the same price I can do an upgrade myself. So this is the stock spindle, stock caliper. So I've got this one converted over already. And basically all you do, you chop off this section and you use these two dust shield holes and you enlarge them. Well, it's backwards, but one's there and one's right there. And that puts an adapter bracket on, and the adapter bracket bolts to the abutment bracket, which holds my new calipers on. So these are off of a Cadillac CTS. They are not the 4-piston Brembos. These are the cheapies, but I mean they're like a huge upgrade. CTS weighs like 4,200 pounds, and they stop that with like very easy. So here's the calipers next to each other. You can see it's a pretty big upgrade here. And these are dual 45mm pistons, I believe. So this is all aluminum. Dissipates heat better, obviously. And this is steel. And like I said, you can see the size difference. So you're probably thinking, man, you're going to add a ton of weight to the front of that. Nah, not really. So my scale's off by about a pound. So that guy weighs 8 pounds. Now keep in mind this is just the caliper. And I'm going to be chopping off these two ears, where this is the caliper and the abutment bracket, which you can see is pretty big. So stock caliper, 8 pounds. CTS caliper with abutment bracket, right around 10 pounds. And like I said, I was a pound over, so really this would be about 9, but we'll call it 2 pounds. And probably when I chop off these ears, that's going to be about 2 pounds worth, because they are pretty thick and this is all cast. So that's the upgrade. This uses the stock brake line off the S10, but you do need the screw for this caliper. Hopefully I got this one around. I got the other one. Reason being, it's just a different thread, but it's the same diameter. I'm going to check it real quick to see if I can. So you can see it's the exact same diameter. It's just a fine thread instead of a coarse thread. Like, I'm not going to force it, but just barely starts in the hole. So you can use the same brake lines. Don't even have to swap them out. The other things you'll need for this is a modified hub. So you can use this is a 99 to 02 F-body rotor. And then it mounts in a more traditional style. And I'll show you when I'm putting it all in the car and cleaning it up and everything. I'll show you how it all goes together. But that's the basic setup. Here you can see the bolts holding on this adapter bracket to the abutment bracket. Brake pads are obviously a whole lot bigger. So this is quite the upgrade for kind of on the cheap. And like I said, it needed new brakes anyways. So that's what the setup looks like, and when I come back, everything will be cleaned up, painted, and we'll be putting it on the car. I'm doing my mock-up on the brakes. I thought I'd show you this while it's off the car, since when it's on the car there's no easy way to show you this, but I got about 3/16 or so of clearance between the caliper and the stock 15-inch rims, and it's pretty much good clearance all the way around, so it looks like these work fine. Here's the whole brake setup ready to be installed. I've got everything cleaned, painted, ready to go. I got my LS1 F-body rotors, new. Hit them with some caliper paint where they can rust, but not on the pad surface, obviously. New ceramic pads. Calipers are cleaned up and painted. Hardware, blue Loctite. Have my hubs pre-assembled. I've got my bearings lubed and I put new seals in. These are the interior bearings. If you've never done these, you got to put them in, then put the seal. These are my outer bearings. Got them packed. I'm reusing the, I guess, thrust washer. I'm not sure what its technical name is. And reusing the nuts, because they're fine. But I'm using new cotter pins, because they are extremely cheap. Here's the Dorman number. You can get 100 of these for about $3 at Rock Auto, so it's not even worth reusing your old one. I'll open it and show you. So they come in handy. This is the actual Dorman part number for the spindle nut. But of course you can use this on any kind of suspension parts. What? Why do you always want to check stuff out? Got my abutment brackets, abutment brackets, abutment adapter brackets. Got both my spindles modified and painted. Got them clearanced, got them drilled and tapped. Got everything all cleaned up. What? You know that hurts, right? So, is everything ready to be installed? I'm gonna toss all this on. Alright, ready for some installation. So I've got everything ready to go. Got my new shock, shock in there. Got my weight supported on the jack. Got my cleaned up and painted spindle. Alright, so once you're torqued down to where you want to be, put some cotter pins in. I kind of like to position these to where next time I need to remove them, it'll be easier. Attach my steering. That way this will stay stationary for me. Okay, I got all three of my nuts and cotter pins installed. She's locked in here tight. First thing I'm going to do is put a little grease back here on the seal area. And this does not help it seal better. This just kind of keeps the water out a little bit. Helps it kind of last longer. And put a real thin coat on everything. Okay, and I got my hub with my bearing already greased and installed and my seal greased and installed. And I have my outer bearing greased up. My little thrust washer, nut, so I want to make sure this is seated, all the bearings and rollers, and I'm not putting hardly any torque on this at all, and just give it some spins. Go a little bit more. And then you want to take this down to 20 foot-pounds. Then back it off once you're sure everything is seated. And then we're just going to barely tighten this to where I can line up the cotter pin. has the closest. If I go one more notch, it's going to be more than I would want. Then I'm going to add some more grease. And also out here, this really isn't so much for the bearing. This is for water intrusion in our little dust cap. Tap it in on the outer edge. And that's it for the hub. Make sure everything spins freely. No play in or out, side to side. Feels pretty good. On the two bracket attachment bolts, I'm going to use some blue Loctite. Wouldn't put these in with nothing on them. So when I did mock-up, I found that I needed some, call them spacers. I just used some grade 8 washers and I'm going to space this out about a 1/16 of an inch. And a lot of the spacing just depends on the casting of the spindle. Since these are originally dust shield holes, it's not a So that looks like it's running pretty true. Now I'll put the caliper abutment bracket on. Same thing with the Loctite. Loctite on both of these guys. Everything spins freely. Nothing touches on either side. That's why I needed those little 1/16 inch shims back there, just to offset this bracket how it needed to be. And the brake pads go in. Caliper goes on. Then the brake line goes on. So this is the stock S10 brake line with the Cadillac screw. It fits right in. No trimming necessary.